Today in the lounge, we are joined by crazy Tim Credeur, and we talk all things from being a martial arts school owner to getting punched in the face the hardest. Tune in now.
You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
Level up. Level up.
Level up. Level up.
Level up.
Level up. You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
Welcome to the Level Up Lounge, episode number 12. Today is going to be an awesome show, guys. We have former UFC fighter, badass entrepreneur, crazy Tim Credeur joining the show. If you guys don't know about him or his story or his success, you definitely want to stick around for this interview. Then right after the interview, we're going to jump into the punch in the face segment.
A punch in the face.
And this week, I'm going to focus on something that sort of held me back from succeeding, and I want to make sure that you're not falling into this same habit. And it tends to happen to martial arts school owners that really want to focus on growing and gaining as much knowledge as possible. So I wanted to make sure that you guys stick around for this because it's something that's helped me to be more successful and to actually be more productive as well. But right now, let's jump right into it with crazy Tim Credeur. So guys, I am so excited for today's episode. We have one of my favorite people on the planet, crazy Tim Credeur, on the show. He's a former UFC fighter, really successful business owner, and all-around badass. Tim, thanks for joining the show. How are you doing today?
It's going good. I don't think my name is crazy Tim Credeur no more. I think it's normal Tim Credeur. Try not to kill your kids, Tim Credeur.
Yeah, you've been pretty chill the few times that we spoke. So where did the crazy Tim Credeur nickname come from?
Well, the reason I'm pretty chill is because we're not training, most people who I meet in normal settings, I'm pretty normal and pretty laid back. But when we're training and doing jiu-jitsu or I'm coaching and teaching, I'm a little out the box. I would say I'm a little bit extreme. I came from like the Carlson Gracie style, which is, like I hear people compare like the Helio Gracie style, the crystal clear waters of Helio Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And so the Carlson Gracie side is more like the dark black swamps of Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm from the deep swamps of Louisiana. So, coming up, I was a young kid from South Louisiana with no money. And I was training with Rodrigo Medeiros and Murillo Bustamante and Laborio and Vitor Belfort and,
wow,
a bunch of monsters. And, to be honest with you, I didn't have nothing coming to me. I was every stripe and every belt I earned, it was blood, sweat, and tears. So, I learned from Carlson, too. I was at the Carlson Gracie Los Angeles Academy. And, if anybody knows anything about him, he's a great guy, but he was hardcore. He was a professional coach. He was a coach. Serious coaching attitude. And so I learned a lot of that from him. My father was a boxer. I grew up on the wrong side of town. I'm sure some of that went into it.
Wow, that's some awesome training to have. And for the people that maybe don't know who you are that are listening, can you tell them a little bit about your entrepreneurial background? I know that you own Gladiators Academy, which is a really successful school. You own an ILKB location. Can you give us a little rundown of that?
Sure. My father was a boxer, so I started doing martial arts and boxing as a young kid, 4 or 5 years old. I don't even remember a time in my life when I wasn't training. And, I was super lucky to be exposed to a lot of great martial artists through my career. We didn't watch football, basketball, baseball. We watched boxing, and we watched the UFC since 1992. My dad started watching the UFC, and it just, blew me away. We were in South Louisiana, and in the early 90s in South Louisiana, there was no jiu-jitsu. There was more like dim mak and ninjutsu and sword fighting and stuff. So I joined the Navy as soon as I graduated, and I went out to Southern California and found jiu-jitsu and just started fighting in MMA fights and started training in jiu-jitsu right away. I was on The Ultimate Fighter Season 7, eventually got a career with the UFC about 5 or 6 years. I also trained many UFC fighters. I trained Rico Rodriguez to win a heavyweight title. I trained Forrest Griffin to win a light heavyweight title, and a number of other young athletes, many from South Louisiana, but I was contracted by many fighters from around the country and the world to train them in MMA and jiu-jitsu. So that was a huge career for me, and I opened my school in 2008, Gladiators Academy of Lafayette. I knew absolutely nothing, and I did every single possible thing wrong, including kick students in their face on their first day in the private lesson. So I was the worst martial arts school owner and worst martial arts instructor that any poor student could succumb to. But I've grown over the years. I've been with my wife about 19 years, and so I'm very comfortable being wrong. I'm wrong a lot. Pretty much every day I come home and apologize for something. And so, I was just, I came back to Louisiana to bring jiu-jitsu and mixed martial arts back to my community. And so it really started to change. There was a couple adults who trained with me. We had about 80 students, and they begged me to teach their kids. And I don't know if you know anything about Carlson Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, but we don't have no kids program.
So it's not very kid-friendly?
No, I mean, there's never a kids program. There's none of that. We were all athletes and adults and fighters and competitors. But, this guy, Toby, convinced me to train his son, Cameron. And there was another kid in there, Colin, and another kid, Trey, and their parents just kind of begged me. My facility was actually inside of an Anytime Fitness, and these men worked out there, and they trained with me, and they just really wanted me to teach their kids. And so eventually I relented, and I was like, yeah, dude, whatever, I'll do it. And, Adam, the damnedest thing happened. I just absolutely fell in love with these kids. I just, those kids still train with me today, and I never would have thought how much I would have loved kids and loved teaching and training kids. They just listened so much better than adults. They were so much more excited and so much more enthusiasm. And, man, I just fell in love with them. And I just wanted to be the best instructor and business owner that I could be for the kids. And, today at Gladiators, we have, 200 and something kids that train there. And I love it, man. It's a huge passion for me. But the kids are really what changed my mind. And after that, I really started to research how to build myself into a better business owner, a better entrepreneur, a better instructor. And that's where the real need to be better at this martial arts thing and this business thing and this teacher thing really started. The seed started when I saw those faces, those kids' faces, and I knew they needed me. Like I needed my martial arts instructors who, literally changed my life. My kids, the martial arts instructors I have, they rescued me. And so I just took the responsibility of doing that for these kids as well. And, it turned into bigger than I ever thought.
So 200 kids. Wow, that is a huge accomplishment. And I have to say, there's something about teaching kids that is just different than teaching adults in the fact that they always have energy, can be good and bad sometimes, but they get excited about every aspect of class, which is awesome. It is very rewarding.
Incredible.
And for the school owners that are listening, that would like to have a successful kids program like that, where they can have 200 kids or more, what would you say is the key to the success of your kids program?
I mean, there's a couple things that I think are super important. I think a lot of instructors are extremely focused on their martial art and on teaching their martial art and on teaching it the way that they want to teach it and on doing it the way, instead of kind of what the needs of the parents are and what the needs of the kids are. We're a service-based industry, and, sometimes service-based providers are more interested in what they want to provide instead of what the needs of the populace are or the needs of the demographic. I'm not saying we should be swayed, but I am saying that we should focus on what are these parents and what are these kids looking for? What do they need? How can I serve them best? And in my opinion, amazing martial arts classes have a lot to do with making sure the kids have fun, character development is a huge aspect of what we do, a huge aspect. And, really being a partner in parenting with all of the parents there. We know what's going on with all the kids' school work, where they're at with their grades, and we're teaching the kids about leadership and compassion and empathy and dedication. And there's not a lot of places in America today teaching kids about integrity. There's not a lot of places honestly teaching kids about leadership and trying to be an example in the community of what, we want our kids to grow up and be pillars of our society. And so that's what we focus on. We focus, of course, on teaching amazing jiu-jitsu and kickboxing classes, but we also focus in being partners in parenting. I have 3 kids myself. My partner, Josh, has 2 kids. And, we know it takes a village, man. The struggle is real. So we do everything we can to provide a service that is building kids, into better kids each day on our mats. And we're 100% focused and serious about it, and we're dedicated, and that's made a huge difference. People can see that. People can read that. I think a lot of people today are really focused on their social media social media page and their Facebook ads and their online marketing and their AdWords campaigns, and they're not focused with the quality of their content, with what is actually being taught on the mat, what is being told to the kids, what kind of strides are the kids making, what do these kids and parents need. A lot's about the slick sales package and not as much about the quality of content that happens afterwards. And I think we're very dedicated to that process, to giving parents something where they just can't say no. This is something that's going to change their kid's life for the better. And that's what we're focused on.
So it sounds like you guys really excel at building relationships with the students and parents at your school. And I think that's something that a lot of schools across the country struggle with, because it's sort of Johnny gets dropped off, Johnny takes class, Johnny gets picked up, see you next time.
Johnny gets a stripe, Johnny gets a sucker, Johnny gets a high five.
Yep, exactly. So what do you do differently at your school to really help that relationship building process with the parents and the students?
Well, Josh and I sit down with all the parents. We do a ton of events at our school, whether they be Nerf nights or movie nights. We have a lot of one-on-one conversations with parents and kids. No matter how many kids are in our program, we take a personal interest in each one of the kids in our program and each of their situations. And we move our kids through our programs, and from our beginner program to our advanced programs to our leadership programs on a case-by-case basis. Nobody moves through our programs without us sitting down with them and sitting down with their parents and understanding their position and understanding what exactly is going on in this kid's life. I think, though, if I'm being honest, to be a great martial arts instructor to kids, you have to actually want to be there. It can't be about the money. It has to be about you actually wanting to build change and build things that are better in these kids' life, installing a parameter of behavior and of character development programs that, are going to imbue a better kid over time. And, Josh and I had martial arts instructors that did that, and we learned from great instructors. And I think we've just done a good job at accelerating that process, using technology, but also using real social. I think, people get good at social media and posting stuff and putting pictures and things like that, but they're not that good at being social, like in the real life, like in real social. They're good on social media, but in real life, they're an awkward robot. And Josh and I are the opposite. We do social media, and we have staff that does our social media stuff and whatever. But Josh and I are best when we're in front of you, when we're talking to you, talking to parents, talking to kids. We put our hands on kids. We teach jiu-jitsu, so we wrestle with our kids on a regular basis. I armbar them, I choke them, I hug them, I let them choke me, and that one-on-one relationship has a big difference than other schools where maybe they're not as close as we are. I think jiu-jitsu gives us the ability to create really close relationships with kids and adults that endure the test of time. Those kids that I told you about, Trey and Cameron and Colin, they're still training with us. You know, it's 10 years later, and those kids are helping us teach classes, and they're in our teen program, and, you know, they're amazing kids. They're honor roll students. They play football and basketball, baseball. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. They're incredible kids. They're the type of kids that I want my kids to be. And so when we built our martial arts program, we built it for our own kids. And we've tested it on other people's kids. And, you know, that has a lot of weight when you're building something for your own children and for your own community. And we just take it really serious.
I love it. And I know that you guys are doing it the right way too, which is great. And you can hear the passion in your voice as you speak about the impact that you've had on kids. Now, I know that besides running your school, you've also helped coach other school owners, right?
Yeah, I am a coach for Perella Consulting. I mostly coach BJJ and MMA school owners, but I take anybody that I can help and that I can, you know, help grow, coach, and develop. I think for me, the reason I'm passionate about doing that is because I struggled. You know, and there was nothing like that existed. You know, somebody that I can call and reach out to who had a school doing a lot better than mine, and you know, bounce some ideas off of and try to get some things figured out and ask some questions. Sometimes the things that are holding us back from getting to the next level are really only a couple answers away. And you know, when we have no one to bounce those ideas off of or compare notes with or evaluate opportunities, it makes the trial and error process difficult. And it takes a long time to build a martial arts school through trial and error. And if you have me or one of the other coaches, it's just a lot easier to make the right decisions quicker and get your school to a place where you and your family can be financially independent and you can provide a higher level of service for your students. So yeah, I do coaching. I don't take a ton of clients. I really only have about 15 clients right now. I'm pretty selective because, you know, like you said, I run an I Love Kickboxing facility. I'm opening a second facility. I have 5 more on the books that I'll be opening in the next 24 months. I have a Gladiators Academy. We have about 500 students. I also have the Gladiators affiliate program, and we have 4 other Gladiators Academies that are run by brown belts and black belts of mine, who I'm a part of that daily operation. And we have a CrossFit, I have a dancing school, I have 3 kids under 6, so my time is precious, and I don't have a ton of it. But when I find the right students, I make time. So I have a lot of schools that I work with in the MMA, BJJ niche, and, you know, we've 100% changed their lives, and that's important to me.
So, Tim, I know that a lot of school owners, I see posts on Facebook that they're not having enough time to run Facebook ads or not having enough time to do this, and you have one of the craziest busy schedules that I've ever heard. So what do you do to manage your time so you can fit everything in? And this is an area where some other schools might be struggling, and I think they could really benefit from how you manage your time.
Yeah, man, I do there's a couple things I do. One thing I tell people, and they tell me they heard it before and stuff, and I think people know a lot of stuff. I just don't think they do a lot of stuff.
Sure.
So I do a morning routine that's super serious to me. I wake up really early, about 4 o'clock. I do about a 10-minute, 15-minute meditation, and then I go outside and I work out for about 30 or 40 minutes. And I just move around some kettlebells, do some deadlifts, power cleans, and just get my blood flowing. I do a workout every morning. After that, I come inside, take a shower, and I read a book for about 35 to 40 minutes. And then I make my breakfast, I make me a cup of coffee, and then I go on with my day. But also involved in that, while I'm taking my shower, I have a bunch of affirmation cards that I read to myself about my goals as a father, my goals as a husband. Those are my 2 main priorities, is being a husband to my wife and being a father to my kids. And I have a lot of affirmations about what I want to offer my kids in terms of fatherhood and being a husband. And then I have a lot of goals with the different businesses I have and my own personal goals. And so I just remind myself about that stuff every single morning, and I stay vigilant in my discipline to make sure when I go out for my day that I know what my overall burning desires and my overall dreams for my life are. And I feel like my subconscious kind of makes a way for me to be the kind of father I want to be, and the kind of husband I want to be, and the kind of business owner I want to be. Of course, I make mistakes, and we all struggle, but the process of having a morning routine and planning my day out and making sure that I am present of thought as to what I'm doing with my time and why I'm doing it gives me a step up. I also spend about 15 minutes in the morning planning out my day on a day planner, and I stick to a pretty rigorous schedule. I hear people say this sometimes, like if you're working 80 or 100 hours a week, you're doing it wrong. And I don't really know what they're talking about, because I'm not doing anything wrong. Like this is what I want to do. Like I can't change the fact that my work, the way I spend my time in my work, is the way I want to spend my time, even if I weren't being paid to do it. Like I want to be teaching jiu-jitsu. Like that's what I want to be doing.
Sure.
So even though it's considered work, what else would I be doing? Would I be home watching Netflix? I mean, what else am I going to be? I don't understand when people say like, oh, you want to have a lot of time off. Time off for what? I worked all my life so I can be here doing this. This is what I want to do. If I had time off, this is what I would spend the time off doing anyway. I want to teach children. No one's making me do it. I have college degrees. I can go get a job probably not making more money, but back in the day, making more money than I'm making today. Sure. This is how I want to spend my time. My children come to my martial arts school. They do martial arts with me. Do I work a lot and do I work hard? Yeah. But it's the way I want to spend my time. I made a decision to utilize martial arts and the things I've learned in martial arts to positively affect change in my community. And that's the legacy I want to leave. I don't have any desire to watch more TV or to play on Facebook more or to play video games. I don't even know what's going on. This is how I want to spend my time. And if I have the opportunity, if I'm blessed enough to spend 100 hours of my week living my dream, I don't have anything to complain about. Of course, at all my businesses, if I don't want to show up for a week or two, nothing's going to happen. Everyone will be fine. Everyone will get paid. We will still be making money, but that's not what I'm interested in. I don't have a boat. I don't have a hobby. I don't play pool. I don't do any. This is what I do. This is what I want to do. This is my hobby, and I'm fortunate enough that it is my way of life as well. I don't think everybody has that, but for me, I don't have any hobbies, or this is what I do. It's what I love.
Yeah, I think it's so important that once you find what your passion is, if you're able to monetize that and actually make a living off of it, it doesn't feel like work. It's a lot different. And I'm someone that's grown up in the martial arts my entire life. Pretty much have had martial arts related jobs almost my entire life, except I did work in the corporate world for a little while as well. And there's no comparing the two. Like martial arts and working in this industry does not feel like work at all. Now, I want to ask you a question about something that I used to struggle with. So sort of staying focused on time management. How do you balance work and home life? Because I know you have a crazy schedule, but I also see you always posting pictures of your kids and spending time with them. So what do you do to manage the relationship between both work and home life and keep everything aligned?
I mean, I don't know, man. I don't deserve any credit for that. I'd be honest with you. Like, I have a saint for a wife. I probably made one really great decision in my life, and that was marrying my wife. I pretty much absolutely screwed everything else up. I don't know if I could say the same for her. She probably made a huge life mistake marrying me, but she hasn't figured that part out yet.
Yeah, don't tell her about this podcast.
Not going to let her know. Yeah, she's an amazing wife, man. She's just unbelievable. She's really patient with me. She understands she knows what I'm doing, and she understands the mission in my life and the legacy I'm trying to leave for martial arts and for jiu-jitsu and for my children. And she doesn't, I have a lot of friends who have wives, and their wives just nag them to death. And she doesn't, man. She doesn't say anything. And on another level, she understands. She has the dancing school with her mother that we help run, and she's incredible. And, that's very important to her, to pass down the legacy that her mother and her great aunt and her family have built in our community with their dancing school. And so she understands my desire to pass down my legacy of martial arts, not to just my kids, but to my community, because she has the same desire. And if I get home at 10:30 at night and I left at 4 a.m., she doesn't say anything. She hugs me and she makes me some food. And, last night I got home at 10 o'clock and we sat down and we watched Josh win Big Brother. And it was whatever. We spent time together and we talked, and no problem. I don't think that's the case for everybody. But to be honest with you, Adam, I only do two things in my life. I work and I spend time with my wife and children. I don't hunt. I don't fish. I don't play basketball with my partners on the weekends. I don't do anything. I have two priorities, my mission in life and my wife and kids, and that's it. And those are the only ways I spend my time. For some people, they would say, Tim, man, that's kind of extreme, and I'll just say to that person, I don't give any shits what you say or think. This life that I live is a dream of mine. My wife and kids are perfect to me, and what I get to do work-wise with my time in my life is everything I've always wanted to do. So I just hadn't found any hobbies that would trump those two things, and I love what I do. I'm lucky. I found my thing and I found my life, and it's incredible.
I love that, man. It's a great answer. Now, I don't know if I've told you this yet. I've grown up in martial arts, been doing it since I was 3 years old, mostly Hapkido and Tangsudo, some sport martial arts thrown in there as well. Recently, I started doing BJJ. I'm like a newbie at it, brand new, rookie. What's the advice that you'd give to someone brand new starting off in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
I think in our society, a lot of people are really looking for immediate gratification. That's a big thing, like with Facebook and Instagram and Snapchat. People are looking for instant gratification. And I think we can even pull that out with apps like Tinder and Bumble. And, people aren't looking to play the long game. They're not looking to get involved in a relationship and build a lasting relationship and marry someone and build a life together. They're looking for immediate gratification. And we see that in a lot of things in our society now. Kids have lost their attention span because of social media, and they're looking for instant entertainment, instant gratification, instant candy. And the truth about jiu-jitsu is instant gratification is not possible. But what jiu-jitsu teaches us is that the long game is the only game really worth playing. And so if you're going to start jiu-jitsu, and when you start jiu-jitsu, play the long game, get tapped out, have fun, relax. Don't worry about winning. Don't worry about tapping people out. Don't worry about whether or not you're going to be good at this or you're not going to be good at this. Is this my thing or is this not my thing? Jiu-jitsu is everybody's thing. It just takes some time to allow your body and your mind to be aware of what jiu-jitsu is and what jiu-jitsu is for you. But jiu-jitsu is a microcosm for life. And the things I've learned from my instructor with jiu-jitsu as the theme have so far superseded jiu-jitsu that, today the least of things my instructor ever gave me was a black belt. That's the least of things. I'm a better husband today because of Rodrigo's influence in my life. I'm a better father. I'm a better friend. I'm a better man. I'm a better business owner. And you can't really put a price tag on that. We start jiu-jitsu to learn self-defense and to get better at being able to defend ourselves and to build up our confidence. But later on in our life in jiu-jitsu, we learned that those things were really just tricks. It tricked us into spending our time toiling with this martial art. And that time and that toil and that adversity and that struggle actually made us the kind of people we always wanted to be without us ever really knowing. And, I think that's the most important thing about jiu-jitsu. Another thing is, look around you. Look at the people's faces around you. Because when I open my phone, there's 200 phone numbers of people who, if I were out of town in New York City and my wife got in a car accident with my 3 kids, there's 200 phone numbers of people that I can call who would show up to the site, pick up my wife and kids, take care of them until I got home, and I could trust them. And all 200 of those people are jiu-jitsu people. And I don't see too many things in our culture that offer us that kind of brother and sisterhood, that build the kind of relationships, camaraderie, and character in people that jiu-jitsu does. And, maybe it's because while we're wrestling, we're sweating in each other's faces and we're kicking each other in the fed, and maybe it's because of that. I don't know what it is exactly. But I know jiu-jitsu has changed me 100%, and it has changed my friend circle to encompass people who I never would have had the opportunity to allow to influence my life without jiu-jitsu. And I'm so blessed to have that now.
That's awesome. And I think that's amazing about all martial arts in general, and especially looking at my circle of friends and the people closest to me. They're all people that I've met through my martial arts training. They're the people that I trust the most, and it's definitely a unique thing about what we do. Now, this is one thing that I ask a lot of our guests when they're on here for the first time. What is the one thing that you would change or improve with the martial arts industry?
If I could change anything about the martial arts industry, I would change the fact that I think more people are concerned with the sizzle and the sell than with the quality and the content. I just see in the industry now, people just selling this and selling that, and there's all this, there's a lot of marketing and advertising and hoopla, and then, the actual product is trash. And they work a lot. They spend a lot of time to figure out how to sell stuff on Facebook, or how to build websites, or how to, do a whole bunch of things to attract the customer. And, I just wish more people focused on maintaining customers and giving an incredible quality of service, rather than spending all their time with a revolving door.
I heard that the quickest way to shut down a bad business is by teaching them how to market their business really well.
Exactly, 100%.
Now, Tim, one thing that we like to do to end our interviews is we like to do some just fun, quick fire questions. So I hope you're ready for it. What is the one book that you would tell our guests to buy off of Amazon and read today?
So I'm gonna recommend 3 books. The first one is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hills. I read this book every year. I'm reading it again for the 5,000th time. And I just feel like it's a life plan. It's kind of like a Bible. I can never put into words how that book has changed my life. It's completely changed my entire life. And I don't even know how to express to people, like, read that book and keep on reading the book. Just read it and keep reading it. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Number 2 is a book I read about 10 years ago. I keep reading it. It's incredible too. It's by Dr. Hold on, let me look it up real quick. The book is Robert Cialdini. The book is called Influence: The Art of Persuasion. And it's just an incredible book. I mean, In the Wrong Hands is a dangerous book, but Influence, Dr. Robert Cialdini is a social psychologist or cultural psychologist at the University of Arizona. and he studies influence, sales and influence, and how to influence people and how to create opportunities to build better relationships. But when you say influence and when you say persuasion in our society, people immediately think of used car salesmen. And so I didn't always have the best tact, the best couth, the best ability to create emotional connections and relational connections with parents and with students and with anybody. I was an athlete and I was a psychopath and I was great at beating the crap out of people and I didn't care about anything else. And so this book, Influence, really opened my eyes as to what's possible and how to treat people in a way that's going to make them feel great about themselves and be willing to work with you and be reciprocal. And so Influence, The Art of Persuasion by Dr. Robert Cialdini. He has another book now called Persuasion, which is great. Any business owners should read these books. But the third book I want to recommend is a brand new book, very recently came out by another mentor of mine, a guy named Brendon Burchard. He's a motivational speaker. He does affiliate marketing, sells info products. He's incredible. But he's recently released a book called High Performance Habits. And so earlier you were asking, how do I manage everything and how do I do everything? And you know, Brendon Burchard's taught me how. I've done a number of his courses, some that cost upward of $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, you know, for an online course. If you're buying $5,000 online courses, you're nuts. You're one of two things. You're either nuts or you're serious. And I'm serious. And Brendon Burchard's High Performance Academy and the other programs that I've done through Brendon have just completely changed my life. High Performance Habits is a book that can get you on the right path to changing the daily habits and daily decisions you make to produce a more fruitful life. At the end of the day, on this planet, in relationships, with parenting, with your business, you get what you deserve. That's it. There's very little luck. Everybody has a little luck, good and bad. Everybody has a little bit of opportunity, good and bad. But at the end of the day, what really matters is what you do every day. Your habits have a huge effect, and they're a cumulative effect. It's compound interest. Your habits, your daily habits, are going to 100% dictate which way you're going, up or down. And if those daily habits include things like sleeping late, not making your bed, not reading, not eating healthy, not working out, not building relationships, you're going to be a kind of person who says, I have bad luck. Well, you don't have bad luck. You're trying to not accept responsibility for the fact that your habits suck. And if you want to create better habits, for sure, it's going to be a struggle and it's going to be a process. But, you know, after 30 to 60 to 90 days, anything you do for 60 to 90 days becomes pretty easy, no matter what that is. If you wake up every morning and do 100 pull-ups, well, after 90 days, it's pretty easy. The first 3 or 4 weeks is going to be a nightmare. But after a while, anything is easy. So sure. I would encourage High Performance Habits by Brendon Burchard. You can get it on Amazon.
You sold me on that book, man. I'll be getting that today. And for those of you guys that can't do 100 pull-ups yet, maybe you start with 10 or something. Don't kill yourself.
Just do 10.
All right, moving on to the next question. What is your go-to music that you listen to when working out?
My go-to music that I listen to when I work out is Slim Thug. He is a Houston-based rapper. I'm from the north side of Lafayette. So I got a little thug in me, and I like thug rap. And I used to be friends with Slim Thug when I lived in Houston, and he used to bring me these CDs out the back of his car. And yeah, for real, dude. He used to sell them out the trunk of his car, and we had a gym on Pinemont that was kind of ghetto back in the day. And I don't know how Slim Thug came in one of my Nextels. I was a sales manager at a Nextel dealership, and Slim Thug came in one of my Nextels, and he found out I did MMA, and we kind of became friends, and he bought his Nextel phones from me, and I got a couple CDs from him, and I just fell in love with it. And he's a big, famous rapper now, but him and I love his music. So Slim Thug's my music of choice.
I'm going to have to talk to you. I think we're going to have to do a Level Up Tim Credeur training mix.
It might be a little offensive, but everyone will love it.
That's right. Yeah. We'll clean it up, man. We'll clean it up.
Clean it up. We clean it up.
Now, like a lot of what you said in this interview has been very educational and also very motivating. And I always take notes when I'm doing a podcast. And I think I've officially taken more notes during this interview than with any other guest so far.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. I just love a lot of the stuff you're saying. It's really clicking with me. Moving on to the next question. You've had a long MMA career. What is the hardest hit that you've ever taken? What is the hardest hit that you've ever taken? And if you don't remember, then it was a really hard hit.
Right. Are we talking about training or an actual fight?
Either one.
Okay, so in an actual fight, I would say I have two. I fought Chael Sonnen in Bodog in Costa Rica one time. And, man, he hit me so hard, I didn't even know we'd fought. I remember being in the back after the fight and asking Ease Edwards when my fight started. And he looked at me and said it was 45 minutes ago. Now, these were like ground and pound. I was on my back. Chael's an Olympic wrestler. So I cracked him one good time on the jaw. I think I broke his jaw. And he took me down, and I'm trying to do jiu-jitsu. And he lands a couple hard overhand rights. And we were in a boxing ring, and the mat was like an eighth of an inch on top of wood planks.
Yeah.
And I remember feeling the wood grain on the side of my face when he hit me one time. I think I lost consciousness for about 15 or 20 seconds during the fight, but the referee may have been drunk because he didn't notice anything. And I just kept getting hit with monster nuclear warhead punches. Chael's a monster.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, that was the time I got hit hard. Another fight I had in Nashville with Nate Quarry. I dropped Nate a couple times, but sometimes when I fight, I refuse to keep my hands up. I kind of keep them in my pockets. And so Nate hit me with a couple war hammers. I mean, it was like bombs over Baghdad style, like with some overhand rights that wrapped my jaw around my face. But in training, the hardest I've ever been hit. For a while, I lived in Vegas. Me and Forrest Griffin lived together. I lived at his house in the guest room. And in our training camp, it was me and Forrest and Vanderlei Silva and Chael Sonnen and Vitor Belfort and Gray Maynard and about 15 other UFC fighters. And, man, we used to have these, like, death battles. We trained so hard. We were legendary for going almost 100% in the gym during sparring sessions. And there were a couple days where me and Vanderlei Silva would get in the cage, and, I mean, somebody needed to call the cops. Somebody needed to call 911, call the police. We were literally just committing hate crimes on each other. I remember getting hit so hard, I couldn't have told you my name after practice a couple of times. I regret training like that. I don't think that's the best way to train, but I am sure happy I did it. It was a blast. But yeah, me and Vanderlei Silva got in some absolute life or death battles where I felt like I was fighting for the sanctity of my life. And it was exciting and it was amazing. I do felt like I died a couple times and came back in the ring. Vanderlei Silva stole my life from me a couple times, but I reached up from the jaws of death and snatched it back.
Great. That was amazing. I think that's the hardest I've laughed during an interview. Yeah.
I got hit with some hammers by Vanderlei Silva. I remember cussing to myself. Like, he would hit me so hard sometimes that I would literally start cussing at myself to keep my hands up, like cussing myself out. That's how hard I would get hit. I tell you what, I wasn't laughing that hard when I was getting hit. I was thinking, like, what are you doing? Go back to sales management, you idiot. This is not what Jesus would do with his life, buddy.
Yeah, definitely.
So, in any case, the decisions of... I hope my nickname's making more sense now, right? It's just a display of bad decision-making. That's why they call me Crazy Tim Credeur. You know, just idiotic decisions time and time again.
I don't even know if I should ask the next question because I don't think anything can top the answer you just gave me for that one.
What is it?
What's the app on your phone that you cannot live without?
Oh man, let me see. That's such a good one. God, I got about 400, but
Yeah, me too.
let me see. Man, that's a good one right there. Yeah, I'd have to say it's that one for sure. I'd have to say. So the app I can't live without is IVMS-4500. So what it is it's an app where I can remotely look at all the classes and offices at my facilities.
Oh, nice.
And I check that thing 748 times a day, right, to see how many people are in each classes and what the office is doing and what they're doing in their class. I'm about to get cameras installed in my I Love Kickboxing so I can keep an eye on these people while I'm not here like a hawk in the wind. But not really, but I just like to always be able to see what's going on. I can watch my other facilities from my phone, and
Awesome.
I'm addicted to it. You know, just to being on top of what's going on and knowing what's happening and having recordable data and reviewing a class. Like I can rewind the tape and watch it again or whatever. So that would be. Also Trello.
Trello, yeah.
I love Trello. I love it, and I like Canva. What else do I really like? Trello, Canva, social media wise. I like Uptown and Company, and I like Ripple and Prisma. Those are some of the ones I like.
Awesome. Hey, Tim, this has been one of the most fun podcasts I've ever done yet. Nothing against my other guests. But I don't think I've laughed that hard in a long time.
I appreciate
But
it.
unfortunately, it was at your pain expense, but
I appreciate it. No problem. Well, I'd just like to say thank you. Adam has helped me a little bit. I'm getting my podcast started at the end of this month. It's called Throwing Hammers. The goal of the podcast is to be as offensive as possible and throw hammers into people's psyche and freak people out with combat sports news, pop culture, conspiracy theories, and any other completely weird stuff that I can talk about. The people that I'll have on my podcast will be a lot of my friends who probably need psychological counseling, but in any case, I'll use as podcast.
that sounds amazing. I can't wait for it, man.
Guys who have fought for too long, and when they talk, you can't really understand them. And then when you add a Cajun accent, it just comes out ridiculous. And then we're going to talk about Kim Jong-un. No big deal.
I cannot wait. Let me know when you finish the first episode. I'll make sure I share it in our group.
We'll do it.
Well, thank you so much, man, for taking time out of your day. I know you're a busy guy, and I just thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and your crazy stories. I just really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Everybody stay safe. If anybody needs me, you can look me up on Facebook at Tim Credeur or Instagram or one of those other social media leashes to keep track of me and stalk me however you want. I just want all the guys out there to know I am married. A lot of males really like the way I look. No females, all males like the way I look. So if you're going to hit me up with a message or something like that, inappropriate, it's cool. I'll send it back. No big deal.
All right. Yeah, guys, definitely follow him on Facebook. I know you do your motivational morning videos that you have on there, which are great. They're good for everybody, guys. And the one thing I love about Tim's videos is he is great about calling me on my, even though he doesn't know he's calling me on my.
Everybody says that.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Really, what I'm doing is calling myself, so don't even worry about it.
Yeah, but I love it, man. It makes a great start to the morning. Thanks again, Tim.
Peace. Take it easy.
All right, guys, that was an awesome interview with Tim Credeur. Definitely entertaining interview as well as educational. Man, I don't think I've laughed that hard in a while. But I hope you guys got a lot of great information out of it. I want to sort of shift gears here and go to our punch in the face segment.
Now it's time to take a punch in the face.
So a couple of weeks ago, I talked about if you are living the lie or living the life. And for those of you guys that missed that part, it was pretty much, are you thinking that you're successful, but when you actually look at your numbers, you've been stagnant, you've plateaued and been there for like the last year. So sort of piggybacking off that, I'd say, man, about a year and a half ago, I started to get in a rut. And one of the things I was doing and I didn't understand at the time was I was reading books like crazy. I was listening to podcasts. I was just absorbing all this information to try and grow and get better. But the one thing I wasn't doing is I wasn't putting any of it into action. A lot of times when I talk to school owners or when I see people at different business events, I hear about some of the things they're struggling with, and then I see them like a year or two later, and they're still struggling with the same thing, even though I gave them advice on things to do. Different leaders in the industry gave them advice on things to do, and they got all this great information, but they didn't actually put any of it into action. I know there was a while when I was watching Gary V like videos like nonstop, listening to his podcast, watching his daily V, and that was in the same time that like I just didn't see the growth that I wanted in my business or in my personal life, even though I was doing all of these things to try and learn and grow. It just wasn't happening because I wasn't actually taking action on it. So what I want you guys to think about is just do a quick self-evaluation and think about the amount of knowledge and things that you're taking in compared to what you're putting into action. And are there things that you maybe learned at the Super Show or at MABS that you said you're going to put into action and you never got around to it? Are there things that you learned from listening to one of my podcasts or Facebook Live videos that you said you were going to take action on but never did it? My goal for you guys is this week, I want you to find one of those things that you said you were going to take action on, but never did it, and actually take action on it this week, because you need something to start that momentum to actually going forth and putting the effort into what you're learning and putting those things to action so you can improve, you can progress, and you can better the systems in your life or in your school. So I just want to leave you guys with that. Thank you guys for checking out the episode. I had a great time on this episode. I hope you guys did as well. Next week, we have an awesome guest that's going to teach you how to use video to leverage your business and create better rapport with your students, as well as use it as a tool to get a better marketing reach and get leads into your business. So I'm excited for you guys to check that out next week.
LevelUpMyMusic.com. Level Up Music, the #1 music streaming service for martial arts schools. Get clean, family-friendly, motivating music mixes that your students and parents will love. It's so easy to use. All you need is a phone, tablet, or computer with an internet connection, and you're ready to start streaming. Upgrade the atmosphere in your school. Get started today.